Hello, friends. My name is Host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Famous People and somebody who enjoys live streaming sometimes. Normally, I'll get a decent turnout for a live stream, but I know this is not a good time to be having a live stream because it's Sunday night. It's 10 o'clock on the West Coast, which means it's, 1 a.m. on the East Coast, and it's Sunday night, so it's unlikely I'm going to get a lot of attendees here. I have one now attendee at this live stream, which is better than none. But I decided I wanted to live stream mostly because I felt the need to engage socially with others. And frankly, live streaming is probably my favorite way of engaging socially with others because I get to read questions usually from the chat and then answer them and go off on whatever tangents I feel like and try to be as on point or entertaining as I can, I guess. Let me pull this bong out. So I think it's fair to say in general that I've been pretty moody lately. I've been somewhat frustrated, easily frustrated, a little short-tempered, maybe with Kimberly. Generally feeling kind of like impatient and just wanting to maximize the utility of my time, wanting to make sure I spend it on wise things, but running afoul some problems that caused me a great deal of frustration. Windows needed an update. I lost a couple of videos that I had made because the sound was messed up because of Windows update, and that was very frustrating. I spent a lot of time working on a first version of the Debate Police song that didn't end up panning out, and that was very frustrating. And, but now that I'm taking care of my mom more frequently, I've got fewer free hours to devote towards whatever I want to, and I find myself feeling very differently than I once did about the finiteness of time. Like, I can't waste time fiddling around on something that doesn't pan out. I gotta produce meaningful outcomes with my projects. So I'd like to make a video about sort of everything I've learned about what it means to be an ENGP over the course of the last 5 years or so of talking and thinking about it. And I think that's a worthwhile project to do. It's worthwhile to devote my time towards it and probably edit it and probably make some documents to go along with it or something. But I also think I'd like to hammer out a shit ton of type police videos because those actually do the best for me in terms of productivity of views and stuff like that, numbers. So those two things kind of are conflict with each other. I only have a certain amount of time to work on videos. How much time am I going to spend on this project about ENGP, revisiting the type and doing a sort of type analysis and advice for younger ENGPs and stuff? How many type police videos is that going to preclude from occurring because I'm spending time on that instead? And is that going to be a good decision? And then there are other projects that I really would like to do that they're on the back burner, and that can be frustrating because I only have so much time, I only have so much energy, I only have so much amphetamine time is the only other thing. It's like I can but I'm not even convinced I get better or more work done on amphetamines, although I definitely get better and more music done on amphetamines, but not necessarily the case with which one excites me the most, which of the projects. Well, at this point, see, I've been I've been using that that metric for most of the duration of the channel. Which of my ideas excites me the most at the moment? And that has been fine and very self-indulgent of me. But ultimately, I'd like the channel to be more successful at this point. I'm actually kind of impressed with myself. I've been doing these various type police videos and stuff. I see channels that I would think would have more subscribers than me and that don't. But of course, I've also seen channels that I think I don't know why anybody would subscribe to them. They've got like 50,000 subscribers. So, you know, it's hard to say. But, you know, I do have still keys to cognition. No, is that somebody to type, please? Somebody to type police. I will check into it. Yeah, I mean, I want the channel to, I want to maximize success at this point. I've indulged every whim I can possibly indulge in terms of video making. I've got videos of all different sorts. I've got most of them improvised. I've got some scripted stuff. I've got videos that are edited. I've got videos unedited. I've got music. I've got comedy. I've got personality types. I've got philosophy. I've got current affairs and politics. I've got debate. I've got every imaginable kind of video up there. I don't know. I mean, I would say that any self-reporting test on cognitive functions is going to be flawed, basically. You know, you could try to test the skills ones directly, like TI, but I mean, if you look at like an ordinal thing, like, you know, if you're saying let's rank these things, if you don't know about my ordinality assessment, let me put the link here for that. The ordinality assessment is one where it asks you to rank all the things. So, for example, if somebody wanted to fill this out and then put their scores down in the chat, I will walk through using it as an interpretation thing, like what it means. Let's see. Oh, this is not owned by me. Let me go owned by me. Okay, ordinals. Here we go, ordinal assessments. So the ordinal assessment thing says, let's have people rank things or order them 1 through 8. Make them not just do binary comparisons, but make them rank things 1 through 8 in a way that is potentially self-reporting, but makes them choose between things. They can't go like, I'm good at this and at this. They have to rank them. So they have to choose ordinally which beats the other one, you know? And I think that if you phrase things carefully enough so that they're all good sounding, then you'll probably have not a big problem with that. Hello, Hambone. Oh, you given me the results already? Well, if you can find them and put them here, I'll go over it right now. So, to read out, I'm just going to read out loud the first page of the ordinal assessment, and so you get a sense of what it sounds like for those of you who don't see it on the screen. Instructions: order the 8 achievement areas 1 through 8 according to your ease of attainment. 1 means it seems to you most easy for you to attain results in this area. 8 means it seems to you least easy for you to attain results in this area. And then the areas are creative writing, fiction or indoor poetry, logic word problems, being liked and respected, archiving and maintaining resources, anticipating trends before others, avoiding mistakes that require you redoing or reworking parts of a project, determining which set of possibilities is most important to you personally, taking advantage of fleeting opportunities in the moment before the moment has passed. So that renders each of the functions into either an area of achievement or something you could be good at or bad at. And it forces you to go, okay, well, you can't say you can't rank them all one. You have to rank one at number one number two, one number three, etc. And then which values do you uphold most often when values conflict? Number 1 is most upheld, 8 is least upheld. Originality, argumentational primacy, the positive regard of others, familiarity, anticipatability, universality, truth, efficiency, authenticity, or impact and significance. And so you got to rank them again. You can't be both efficient and original as your number 1. You just pick one, etc. And then there's these little paragraphs for examples of evil. And then there's, in which competency area would you most graciously accept assistance from a significant other? Gladly, yes, please help lots, or 8, no way, don't try to help me. If you look at this, when you want to put your results here, I will explain what they mean. So, the test here is, it is a self-reporting test, so it doesn't bypass it entirely, but it attempts to counteract the main problem with self-reporting tests, which is they're not making you pit things against each other adequately. So, like, for example, if you fill out the first one of these ordinal assessments and you put in the chat the numbers in the order in which you put them. So you might put, like, your answer might be 2, 3, 1, 5, 7, 8, 9, 4 or something. That might be your answer. And then I will interpret what it means. So yeah, I don't think the ordinals is necessarily the absolute solution to assessing type. I just think it's a good tool. You sometimes mention that in order to determine someone has good TI, you must first test their conditional logic. How do you go about doing that? I'm sure you get this question often. Lol. Well, I have actually, conditional logic word problems and stuff that I can give them. So, let's see. Let's see. So, like this document here, for example, has got a bunch of syllogisms on it, is one example of questions. Only French people like tennis. John Smith likes tennis. John Smith is French. And you have to indicate whether it's valid or invalid. So, only French people like tennis. John Smith likes tennis. John Smith is French. It's valid. No cats like to swim. Judy likes to swim. Judy's not a cat. Valid. All tape is sticky. Glue is sticky. Glue is tape. Invalid. No snow is warm. Pie is not snow. Pie is warm. Invalid. Bananas are yellow. This fruit is yellow. This fruit might be a banana. Valid. Only men grow beards. That dog has a beard. That dog is a man. Valid. All French fries are delicious. This treat is not a French fry. Therefore, it's not delicious. Invalid. No lies are true. This sentence is true. This sentence is not a lie. Valid. Polar bears live only in the Arctic. This is a polar bear. This lives in the Arctic. That is valid. All hamburger patties are served between buns. This meat is a hamburger patty. It's served between buns. It's valid. So then there's missing generalizations. You could say his father is an engineer. He must be good at science. What's the generalization that would make it valid? And the answer is all children of engineers are good at science. Or only people who are good at science are children of engineers. Or no children of engineers are not good at science. So that's the kind of question. Yo, TJ Music 24. How you doing, dog? I hear that you're living large, rolling, big pimpin', out there slaying the puss and spraying some bus. Little headache? Yeah, wow. That'll happen sometimes. If you've been drinking or beer today, then you'll really get a headache. It was football day. It was probably why you were drinking. Everybody drinks on football day, except I surely don't. Hello, Jordan Spike. I go back to school tomorrow, so I won't be around much anymore. Anyway, here's my ordinal test result. If I have written it down, could I through it? Yes, let's see it. Let's see what Jordan Spike says there, what her results are. I want to know. Nobody can tell me that's fair. You know, the Rams, I guess. One of the Chargers, I guess. One of the two. All right. So let me look here. So 4431. Wait, you can't have more than one instance of. That doesn't make any sense. It has to be one of each digit. You have to have 1 through 8 on each of those tables. Oh, well, I thought Jordan is a girl's name. Well, it's spelled like that. It looks like a girl's name. Yeah, you did it wrong. You got to put one number in each box from 1 through 8. And you can't repeat it. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Blame your mother for that one. She should have called you Jono. With the O, that means you're a dude. Hello, Officer PP. What a very important kitty friend you are. Yes, you're an important kitty friend. So, you should have an 8-number string containing one instance only of each of the 8 digits. 1 being what would the instructions say, and then 8 being what the instructions say. Oh, beautiful kitty. What an important kitty friend. Would you give any advice to an ENTP who is an INTP startup co-founder? Probably listen to the INTP. A business requires that you don't have in place all the architecture you'd like to have in place before you start the business. You have to start it and let the architecture grow with the business. ENTP has an idea of how they want it to be or something, right? And yeah, I do like the Browns a little bit better today than the Chargers. You gotta respect the fact that you can't build the scaffolding for something big. You have to let it grow. And so ENTP is likely to say, well, let's do this thing to prepare for this. And INTP is like, I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's extending ourselves too much. Listen to the INTP in that capacity. You probably are trying to extend yourself too much. I have other advice for a young ENTP. If you're actually an ENTP, then my advice is, first and foremost, that your sense of okayness is found through your SI. So work on trying to appreciate and be attentive to eating, drinking, resting, things like that. And when you're doing that, try to let your attention be on that rather than on something else. And, you know, in general, try to remember to change gears from go, 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 go. And that for us, changing gears means focusing on SI. And it's very much a key to being a more balanced, more content ENTP is to spend more attention to SI. It'll allow you to better organize your project time as well. So if you have when young ENTPs usually have trouble getting projects done at all, usually have trouble even at a certain point they'll stop starting them because they start feeling demoralized. But if you but you will get past that. Just keep pushing. Don't worry about the ones that don't finish. Just keep starting them, and eventually you'll finish them. But assuming you get past that, failure to, as soon as you, once you get past that period of time when you're like, I can't, I'm too scared to do things, then you need the SI management a lot. It's important, or else you'll end up feeling out of control, chaotic, and mad at yourself all the time. You can get away with being a little bit more hardcore when you're younger, but it's really not worth it. It's like, it takes ENTP a while to realize what diminishing returns are. A lot of times, the best thing to do is to go to bed and pick it up again in the morning. And it's something that's a hard lesson for ENTPs to learn. We want to finish it in this sitting. Career advice specific to ENFJs. Well, ENFJs usually are quite successful in whatever it is they're doing because most everything requires some sort of interface with other people, and they're going to successfully manage that interface usually. Obviously, the natural jobs for ENFJs are sales type positions or leadership positions that require motivating people rather than managing the particular. But the thing to remember also about ENFJs is their TE is where they're going to make most of their hay in life. I was thinking earlier today that a person's ideal job is one that uses their second function to achieve their fifth function by way of their eighth function. So, in other words, the ideal job for you would let you use NI to attain what you really want in life, FI stuff, which is mostly going to be I was feeling blue. I can't remember. I'm the rudest fiance ever?
Yes.
Really?
How long have you been home from work?
About 24 minutes.
Why so late?
Because they had me stay an extra half an hour.
So you don't think to call me and tell me?
Here's $100 for bills.
You don't think to call me and tell me?
Well, Kim, you didn't call me and ask.
That's dumb.
You're going to lose that. Get back to me.
And then you don't even come in and say hi.
So, anyway. Yeah. I mean, the thing is,
Call me little pony.
the ENFJ has both good naturally, obviously, really strong with FE, but they're going to have very good TE as well. They're going to know how to manage those logical systems of the world to good effect without doing it willfully or consciously. It's just sort of an autopilot thing for them. So, I mean, they're well positioned to succeed in any kind of professional endeavor, but they're poorly positioned to keep a tight household. It's like ENFJs are not good at managing their finances. They're not good at taking care of themselves, at eating enough, at sleeping enough. They're not good at keeping track of their own schedules and sticking to them. They want to follow the NI of the day that says I ought to do this rather than what maybe they had planned to do before or something. So you got to work on dealing with your SI polar, which is, I think, potentially a more handicapping polar than, say, FI, which is fairly. It can produce problems too, and it sort of produces ontological problems that are maybe of greater significance than ones that are more visible, but they're less practical concern. You need a wingman to do the sticky icky. What's the sticky icky? Does that mean humping the girls, or does that mean smoking weed, or something else? Humping women. One of the things that people do in the world is hump women. I have a woman here that I hump. Her name's Kimberly. I use my penis to hump her.
Okay, you're gross.
I'm just explaining how biology works to these people, okay?
These people probably already know that.
All 15 of them need instructions on the birds and the bees. You're welcome, Jake. You're welcome. You see, Jake didn't know how to hump a woman. I had to explain it to him.
Oh, you did? What did you explain to him?
That you use your penis. You use it in a thrusting motion.
Okay, stop.
You just point it at any part of her body and thrust at it. It'll be fine. And then, if she goes, stop, then you go, play patty cake with it until she does. And then, stuff comes out eventually. And that's how people get pregnant. It's true.
All right, let's go play patty cake with it.
Okay. Yeah. No, you want to know how to pick up a lady. And that's a different question, okay?
No, it's ooh la la. It doesn't work. Don't listen to him.
No. You don't start out with ooh la la. That's down the road. That's an advancement. Okay.
Why don't you move your microphone so you can read your things?
Why don't you move your mouth to a different room? Okay, so what was I talking about? Oh, yes.
Bob's or vagine?
No, you walk up to her like this, okay? Hey, girl. And then when she's like, what? Okay, so that's your first line is, hey, girl. Okay, your second line is, don't be like that, girl. They like that. Women love that. And then lastly, your third line, your third and final, this is the home run line.
Ooh. La.
No, that's more advanced. No, it's, you're my world, girl. Then watch the panties drop. Yeah, it's hump time. That's right.
How's that work for you, Eric?
Works great every time.
Oh, every time?
Every time.
Didn't work time with me.
I didn't use it on you. I respected you too much. if I didn't use it. Now, if you get into the advanced stage, okay, once you've already gotten with a woman once or twice, you want to walk up and make it extra special. You walk up to her, you go, "Hey, baby, ooh, la, la," like that. By the time you finish the second law, she should be orgasming. It usually works. It's really an amazingly powerful technique. Hey, baby, 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 ho. No, Ian P. You're getting it all wrong. Not like that. No. Usually, you should always refer to a woman as girl. But sometimes you can use baby, but never 3 babies in a row. Baby, woman, child, that's okay if you're singing a song, a blues song of some sort. Okay? It should always be followed by all night long. Baby, woman, child, all night long. I don't have any loafers, Gucci or otherwise. I don't let my shoes be any lazier than any other part of my wardrobe. There shall be no loafing in my closet. I have a loaf-free closet. And a coterie of penguins. Wait, that doesn't rhyme with closet. Close enough. Posit rhymes with closet. Do I run at all? Not very often. Every once in a while I'll run if I'm in a hurry someplace, like from the car to wherever, like to work or something. But no, I don't really do any exercise. I sometimes ride my bicycle. I'd like to go play basketball.
You don't have any friends to play basketball with.
No, I can play down at the courts down there.
You don't have any friends.
I don't need any friends. There's pickup games down there.
Oh.
Would an ENTJ relationship work? Yeah, it would be pretty close. It's probably like 3rd or 4th best for them. For the first set, 5, 7, 6, 2, 3, 1, 8, 4. Okay, let me do the ordinal assessment thing now. I'm going to type them in there so I can. 5, 7, 6, 2, 3, 1. 5, 7, 6, 2, 3, 1, and 8, 4. 8, 4. All right, so this would show that you are TESI as your probably your tool and your dominant. One of those two is TE or one of those two is SI. And the anticipating trend is NI, which would suggest to me that you're probably SI as a dominant because NI 8 slot would make more sense as a 3. For taking advantage of SE, that'd be your 6th slot though. So, I mean, in this sense, this one doesn't really, it's not very clear. I need you to do the next one. 5 would be NE, and 6 be election respect FE 7th. Probably your 6th slot would be 8, I would guess, or maybe your no, I'm sorry, your 7th slot would be 8 probably. So FI, this would say FI polar and TI 6th maybe or 5th. I don't know. It's hard to say, but based on this one, I'd be leaning towards either ISTJ or INTJ. One of those two probably is what I'd be leaning towards. You want to do the second one, it would give me more clarity about it. So it's like the thing about these ordinals is they're not going to be consistent. They're not going to be like, well, a person always puts this at this number slot. They're just going to give you a general gist of how they value things, and you're going to have to figure out what makes most sense. If you have all 4 of them, then you have a pretty good chance of nailing it down. Am I going to be live streaming later this week? Probably. I'm going to be going inside in not super long time and trying to hump Kimberly. She's a little bit mad at me. I don't blame her. I've been not very attentive to her at all today because I've been, like I started this video off with, I'm in a bit of a frustrated mood and feeling impatient with myself and my failures and stuff like that. But I would love to see Jordan's. Okay, so girl blogger puts that. So let's look at that one. 148375526. 148375526. 148375526. 148375526. 1 4 8. I'll come in a second. 3 7 5 2 6. Okay, so this one shows you as being any FI. SI is 3, TI 4. I would based on this. I'm sorry, TI 4. Based on this, I would say that you're probably an INFP, but it could be an ENFP on the first one. So let's look at your second results now. Your second results say 3765128, 3765128, 3765128, 3765128, 3 7 6 5 1 2 8. Where did I leave one off? 3 7 6 5 1 2 8 4. Okay, so this one says values conflict. Which ones do you uphold most? NI you uphold most. Efficiency 2TE you uphold second most. That makes sense for an ENFP. Originality third most. Makes sense for an ENFP. Fourth most SE. Yeah, the second one strongly suggests ENFP over INFP. So I don't know what type you are, girl blogger, but the ordinal test that you've given me, those two results right there. The first one, I put the link up higher up in the thing, TJ Music. The first one, I was leaning INFP from, but if you see, that's why I have to look at all four of them to get a firm sense of you're probably this. But the second one is pretty clear ENFP. And the reason is because you've got as your first thing, your first value in the second set of them, you've got universality and truth. Now that's you're an ENFP, that's your fifth slot function, which is your value for the external world, your universal binary qualifying value for the external world. Your second one is efficiency. That would be if you're an ENFP, it's your third slot function, TE, and that would be the second most absolute value you have. So you have two absolute values, your fifth and your third function. So your fifth and third are 1, 2 here, NI and TE. That means you're probably an ENFP unless it's TE on the fifth and NI on the third, in which case, I don't know what you'd be. You'd be an ISTP, I guess. Yeah, you'd be an ISTP if that were the case. So originality, though, 3, that one is NE, and that suggests you're an ENFP, not an ISTP. And impact and significant SE, that'll be your 8th slot function if you're an ENFP. That makes sense. Familiarity and anticipatability, SI, your seeking function. That makes sense for 5th. Positive regard for others, FE. is your countervalued function. That would make sense somewhere in 6th, 7th, or 8th. The one thing that wouldn't make sense really is authenticity as 8, which would be your FI if you were an ENFP. However, remember, it's a tool function. It's not an absolute value. It's an instrumental value. I wouldn't expect to see it as low as 8, but I would expect to see it lower than 3 or 5 or 1. This guy is boring. I'm sorry for being boring. Eric, what cognitive function combination is responsible for simulating relational realities? Well, simulating relational realities, I don't know about that. You mean like to anticipate if you mean to anticipate how certain actions are going to impact social realities or other people's perceptions of you, then that would be FE. How can you tell if your turtle is Mexican? That's an excellent question. Now,
somebody called you boring.
Mm-hmm. So, okay.
I agree.
First, get very tiny shot glasses, okay? Now you're going to offer your turtle a very small shot glass of tequila and a very small shot glass of whiskey, a very small shot glass of vodka. If he chooses a tequila, okay, add 1 point in the column of Mexican. Next, you're going to offer the turtle a horse or a burro. If he chooses the burro, again, very small. If he chooses the burro, then again, another point in the column of Mexicans. And if he chooses the sombrero, add a point for Mexican. Lastly, yes, EMP, thank you for mentioning it. Of course, you're going to offer him multiple kinds of legumes, okay? Make sure they're all legumes. That means peanuts, that means lima beans, and assorted other legumes. And of course, refried beans. And if he chooses refried beans, then he does all those things, then you know he's Mexican. Okay, but just tequila alone doesn't necessarily mean Mexican. It could mean frat boy. Tequila and burro together could also still mean frat boy. I put the link up above. I'll put it again.
Talk about something like exciting and fun.
I thought the topic of the Mexican turtle is exciting and fun. Well, what do you want to talk about?
I don't know.
Argumentational primacy means what? Which has the winning argument? Moonshine. Would you like to talk about moonshine?
No.
It's the kind of liquor that they make under the shining of the moon. It tastes like freedom. It's made out of fermented freedom. I caw. You caw? Why do you caw, Matthew? Oh, you came here to learn about owls. Well, that's a good point.
I love owls.
You know, not commonly known is the fact that owls are also known as night chickens.
Is weed bad for teenagers?
Well, teenagers are bad for weed.
Yeah, I agree.
Why don't we eat them? Well, because we're not nocturnal. We wouldn't eat night chickens because they're nocturnal and we're not. And we just can't ever find a time where our schedules meet for us to eat them. Teenagers don't need weed. Teenagers need earnest self-discovery and containment. But they don't ever get that. It feels good to smoke weed? Are you sure? I don't know about that. It seems like a dangerous option, young man. If one of each of the 16 types was stuck on an island with the goal of being the last to survive, which type would win? Well, are they killing each other? Thank you, Himbone. Yes. Finna is an important verb.
Can to Lila's car, and
why do I need to move Lila's car? And why can't she move
wasn't
it?
sure where you were, and she needs to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and have her car out first.
All right, I'll move it in. They could outlast each other, but killing would be easier. Well, the thing is, assuming that you're cooperative, right? But you're cooperative, but the environment is not. Let's say the environment is going to kill people because it's harsh, there's not that much food, and or there's a lot of bad weather, and or it's possible to survive, but you've got to be strong and healthy to begin with, probably, and yada yada yada. Well, in that environment, you're going to prioritize physical strength and well-being over anything else, and so it's probably unlikely to do a whole lot with type. It probably has more to do with your state of health. But if you're talking about an environment where well, like some sort of game like Survivor, where the people have to maintain like popularity and utility. Let's say you have to maintain popularity and utility in order to stay on the island or get voted off. If they could have some way in which utility were legitimately factored in, like, I don't like this guy, but he keeps providing all the food, and we can only eat what we can hunt. If it were an actual thing, like they didn't have a game show host and everything, but it was just like that somehow, then in that context, I would expect the ENTPs to do fine. I'm sure the ENTJs would do fine as well. The ENTPs would probably be inclined to make a series of small alliances. The ENTJs would try to organize the whole group. And the ENTP does not do well with deprivation or discomfort, so that would be a problem. And I think that we need a lot of food. I think that being an NE-DOM is highly calorie requiring. I know that almost every NE-DOM that I've met is high metabolism and skinny. So that's what I think about that. If we could extract from the occasion physical discomfort and constitution, ENTP would do a lot better. ENFPs are probably more well suited to that sort of thing than ENTPs in a lot of ways. I think they're tougher. I think they're tougher because they've got the FITE thing going on. ENTPs don't like it when shit stops being fun. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but I am a bodybuilder. I lift all sorts of things all day long. I've got muscles that are just amazing. Guns that would, if you were to see them, all the males here would be shamed into impotence for the rest of their life. Just at the sight of my manly muscles. ENP, listen, I don't want that on my conscience. I don't want put another person into a vegetative state. Okay? I don't want to rip my jacket, Matthew. What's a gay MBTI type? Kim is not in here anymore. I've got to go inside, and she's mad at me anyway. I got to stop doing this right now. Yeah, so anyway, I can bench press 4,000 pounds, which is quite a bit, one-handed. I can, what do they call it when you pull it from the ground all the way up over your head? Clean and jerk, something like that. I could do that for as much as, well, I've hit 12,000 pounds one time. Let's see. Somebody else was in line ahead of you on that. Okay. TJ Music says 176-23124. You can't have two ones. Eight 831-6472. Oh, maybe it's second one. TJ. TJ's second one says 831-6472. So number one is FE. Number two is SE. Number three is TI. Number four is NI. 5. I don't see 5 anywhere. You don't have a 5. But so far, that's what 8 is. 8 is NE. So far, it looks like ENFJ. Just my initial gut on that. Let's see. Okay, Simone. 8345126 Oh, you got them all. All right, let me do Simone. She's got all 4 of them, so I'll put those right now. Simone Ortega. All right. So one is 5. It's 8. I mean, it's NI. TE. 3. TI. 4 FE. Now that would suggest ENTJ. The first one. Let's see what the second one looks like. 3678124. So the first one suggests ENTJ. The second one suggests INTJ more than ENTJ. The third one okay. The third one more suggests INTJ than ENTJ, but let me see. Actually, that suggests ENTJ. I know it's split on the third one. It's not helpful, really. It's half of it says INTJ, half of it says ENTJ. And then the fourth one, suggests INTJ. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I think it's INTJ. So according to this ordinal assessments test, Simone Ortega, you are an INTJ. What do you self-identify as? Aaron. Okay. So, you know, I had no idea who you. I have never talked to you or anything before, so that's good to know. You got it right. Well, that's not what your ordinal results suggest. I mean, I wouldn't put all the weight in the world in those ordinals in my interpretation of them, but I would say that if you're honest in your self-reporting in the thing, then it's it's going to be accurate, and because it's structured to help you to be honest by making you choose against some good values that you might very much like, but you have to choose against, Yeah. So anyway, I'm pretty pleased with that. That's cool. So, yeah, if you rank those things and you know how to interpret it, then I guess it, at least with this person, with Simone Ortega, seemed to match up with her self-identification. Yeah, but you do need all four of them, or else my results are going to be tentative. And even if they have all four of them, it's still like there was a chance she was ENTJ based on those four, but it did resolve to INJ at the end. Okay, I gotta go to bed now. I'm gonna try to go hump my woman. Hopefully, she'll be agreeable because I have been kind of ignoring her all day, so she might not be agreeable. She might be like, "No, get off of me." Or I'm gonna be like, "Listen, lady." I'm gonna put one more cigarette in it. Listen, lady. I gotta get my hump on. Well, let's see. If just take like one thing on that need help one. So you say that the thing you need help on is SE. You'll accept help on which is SE. That would suggest you have SE in the fourth slot, which would suggest you have NI as a dominant function. And the evildoer one, you view FI as the source of evil. Now, if that were if that would suggest you were like an INTP or an ISTP, but that's inconsistent with your other one. But that's just one of the numbers, right? So you got to kind of look at them all and see. Like your number 2 on need help is SI. So that would be consistent with 8 slot SI, which would be consistent with NI DOM again. On the second one, evildoers, is FE. It could be it could be, I don't know. Your evildoer one doesn't seem to line up with the other one. So I don't know what to do with that. I'd have to look at it all up against the thing. I'm not looking at the page right now. I'm trying to do it from memory. It's hard. So Oh, you know what you're saying, Matthew Alistair. Yeah. I would suggest you're an NI-DOM. Based on if I remember what I said for the first ones. I don't know what kind of NI-DOM at the moment. Night chicken role play. Yeah, listen, what you guys need to do is gather together a bunch of night chickens. Now they're gonna all say who at you. And you say, me. That's it. Then you know your type. They'll tell you after that. They go, okay, all right, you're a whatever, ISTJ or ENFJ. Night chickens and wood pussies. You know that the common skunk, it has a secondary name, or its old name, its old school name was known as a wood pussy. So I like to gather together a bunch of night chickens and wood pussies. Naturally, I carry a nosegay while doing so, and we frolic under the full moon. It's one way to bring out the nature spirits, to do magic for you. Like they can make your hair grow back. Mine's grown back slowly. I used to be completely bald. I was born that way, completely bald. It's been slowly growing back. Do a night owl would be a night chicken, correct? Oh, so a night owl would be a night chicken. No, listen. You don't seem to understand the things about night owls. There are night owls, day owls, and break owls. Okay, night owls, they work the night shift. Day owls work the day shift. Break owls only give a break. That's all they do. They give breaks. They work very infrequently. Night owls are also known as night chickens. Okay, but day chickens aren't known as night owls or day owls. Just so you know. Your ancestors were famous? I've talked to them then. Who were they? Were they Charlemagne? Who's the mayor? Is it Charlemagne? Anytime I attempt to explain what I think NI is to an actual NI-DOM, they say to me, you have absolutely no clue what NI is. That's NE. If that means anything. Well, that's typically the response to somebody who's got NI polar, which would make you something like an ESTJ or an ESFJ. But that's not necessarily the case. It could be that you are an NE-DOM who doesn't know what NI is and can't describe it. Or it could be the people you say are actual NI-DOMs aren't actually NI-DOMs. The Kana chart, the descendants of Khan of the 100 battles. Oh. I'm a descendant of corn. Or of maize, actually. I'm where they got that genetic mutation that makes plants Roundup resistant. I had that first. I was born with it. I bought another bunch of mutations at the store. So I became the world's first bearded human male ear of corn. Little known fact. You couldn't tell by looking at me, but if you were to bite into me, I taste just like corn. True. So I think it's a little bit more impressive than your relatives. I also was the founder and lead singer in a band called, well, it eventually became called Kazacorn. But it was a corn cover band that ceased covering corn after a while, but kept the name corn in the band. because fuck corn. That's why. Would first slot NI make conditional logic easier or harder, or that say, I don't know, first slot SI? I think INFJs are better at it probably in general than ISFJs, but it depends on the ISFJ and the INFJ. Yeah, well, it is ribbed for pleasure. That's true. And it comes in its own leaf packaging. And it has its own silk. And you can make silk pajamas out of corn silk. And you're really living large. Corn silk pajamas. Nature's softest sleeping garment. How do you weave garment out of corn silk? I want to do it. It's pretty important that it be done. A cod piece. I want to weave a cod piece out of corn silk. It's going to be soft on my junk walking around. No, you're not supposed to digest it. It's covering my junk. Okay. Keeping it warm in the winter. Your numbers for the first section. Well, if you have 1 on FE, 2 on NI, you're looking at an NFJ. I mean, look, the order of the things in each of them is the same order as in NHP's functions. So it's making it easy for me to remember it. So it goes NETIFE, SI, NI, TE. I'm a little slow tonight. FI, SE. That's the order in which they all go. They go to the ENTP functions order. Hi, Walter. Oh, Walter's here. Ooh, Walter. Give it to me, Walter. You know, I've got a solution for homosexuality. It's called the Schick-Shadel method of curing homosexuality. So back in the 70s, he said the Schick-Shadel method to quit smoking. And what you do is you go to the Schick-Shadel Center and they make you smoke like 2 cartons of cigarettes in a sitting or something until you just puked your guts out and you never want another cigarette again. So what I want to do is take the gay kids of Christians and have them fuck the gay away at the Schick-Shadel Center for Homosexuality. So it'll be like, this is your anti-gay therapist, Walter. He's gonna fuck you until you're sick of it. All right. This is Walter. This is George. And this is Burdoin. Burdoin's a foreigner. That's why he's got a weird name. They're all gonna fuck you. They're gonna fuck you hard until you stop being gay. All right? Until you puke. You're sick of it. You're just like, I don't want any more dick. That's how we're going to cure you of your homosexuality. Schick-Shadel style. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to open up the gay reparation, gay replacement therapy or gay extinction therapy, Schick-Shadel style. I'll hire a few big gay dudes named George and Walter and Bernoy and pay them to just fuck these gay people who come in and try to get straight, right? It's a good idea. It's a good business model. Are you straight yet? No. You need to take some more dick. Yeah, that's how you cure the straight, too. I want to get cured of straight. Trannies everywhere, huh? Don't you hate it when you wake up and your bed is full of she-males? I'm Andy Rooney. Have you ever noticed that waking up these days, your bed's always full of she-males? I have. I'm Andy Rooney. And don't you hate it when you wake up and there's a she-male on your dick? I do. I'm Andy Rooney. And I hate she-males. Andy Rooney? That's transphobic. Don't you hate it when you're kicking she-males out of your bed and people call you transphobic? I do. I'm Andy Rooney. Andy Rooney, you're dead. Have you ever noticed? I got popcorn. It's just a mix of different strains, little nugs. It's cheap. I smoke so much, you know. Is it? I think it's like, it's kind of like ADD medication. What are the functions of gravity and time? So it's not an appropriate question to answer. It's a great question. What are the functions of gravity and time? Well, what do you mean by that? You mean which cognitive functions correlate to gravity and time? Or do you mean what are the purposes of gravity and time? I don't know. I think it's a great question. I would say functions that associate with gravity and time are, well, I mean, time is divided into two kinds of time, turn-based and real time. Real time is experiential, and the speed of time varies according to the nature of the experience, whereas turn-based is not experiential, it's turn-based. Well, I think that it's true that NI has something to do with predicting fluid systems across time, but I think that it's not the only way of understanding time. Like SI understands time in chunks of one day. Like, this is my day, this is what I've got planned for the day and stuff like that. And it renders experiences into events that it remembers more or less as they happen rather than just taking away the meaning from them. So it's impossible to understand time unless you understand it in its two manifestations and recognize that NI is a turn-based way of making predictions about statuses across time. Turn-based, yeah. It's like a game that's turn-based versus a real-time shooter, you know? If it's turn-based, you take a turn, then they take a turn, then you take a turn, then they take a turn. So if you're dealing with statuses in life, it's turn-based in the sense that, let's say I win a prize. One day I didn't have that prize, and the next day I do have that prize, and I have that status of having a prize. That's sort of a metaphysical status change event. And the status change is binary. Even though the process of receiving the prize was fluid, the status of having the prize is not. Turn. Turn. Turn-based. You take turns. So, yeah, that's the thing about time. And each of the knowing functions relates to time in its own way. SI treats time as very linear and ordinal, and it presumes that we best understand time as a series of events proceeding backwards and forwards through time, whereas NI is much less concerned about the linearity of it and sees it as well, they see themselves, instead of a being that's moving across a line through time, they see themselves more as they've been in the middle of a circle of something. So either of systems or of people, depending on if they're FE or TE. You think being an electrician would be a good job for SETI? Yeah. BSTP or ISTP? Yeah. I do. It requires some thinking for sure, and and it additionally requires some following through and doing the shit, you know. There's also part 2. It's the value one, value NI, value FE, value of FI. Okay, so that would tend to suggest ENFJ over INFJ. The thing about cognitive functions and typing as well is, although it's true that there are a lot more sensors in the world than there are intuitives, as far as people who are interested in typology and cognitive functions, that's going to be vastly overrepresented by intuitives. Well, in that case, I would say it's because your third value is FI, and if you were an INFJ, that would be more countervalued. That's the idea anyway. Why ends like typing? Well, because it's all about the meanings that one associates with one's being rather than the experiences. And typing says, here are meanings that you can have that are your meanings, that are about you and define who you are, and yada, yada, yada. And so intuitives are going to like that. Kimberly's things is boring because it's just all about meanings and mechanics and whatever else. She's much more about experience. And if she doesn't mind meanings-based stuff as long as it's in her wheelhouse, which is FE. When she's sitting here and watching me answer a bunch of questions about stuff, she doesn't have any chance really to use FE. There's only one person talking, and everybody else is just typing. I mean, you know, in the chat. If it's taking a bunch of abstract meanings, does that make it any? Well, either any or NI are concerned with meaning making. So NE is concerned with the making of meaning, and NI is concerned with the distillation of meaning and or the primacy of some meanings over others. So it's like, if you have 5 choices, what's the best choice? That's a matter for NI. So too is it a matter for NI to see a bunch of clues and realize, aha, that means this, and to do something. And so too is it NI if you go, okay, if I say this thing to this person, it's going to have this social impact long term if I follow it up with this other thing later, and blah, 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 which is that's what INFJs sometimes do. That's the kind of NI systems predictions that you can do with NIFE. NITE will predict things like, if I move this thing down a ½ inch on the website, then traffic will increase a bunch because it'll be much more visible or something like that. That's going to be like a TE kind of prediction. Neither of them are really predictions across long stretches of time. That's a mistake and a misunderstanding of NI. NI does have conceptions of how systems evolve over time and how impacts in systems are likely to impact out across time. But any DOMs are probably better at long-term predictions, although, nobody's good at them. Just because any DOMs are able to see how all the possible ways it plays out and then use NI from a set of concrete possibilities, whereas NI DOMs are likely to just have to wait for their NI to tell them something and not really be able to parse it out as to why or see the alts necessarily. And that's just for long-term predictions. But NI is pretty good at it too. I mean, certainly my friend Corey displayed some prophetic vision when he bought a bunch of Bitcoin when it was dirt cheap. He bought like $3,000 worth of it, and he made like $1 million on it or something. So he was able to predict that. But that was, to me, that seemed pretty clear cut. I mean, I knew it too, but I just didn't do anything. I don't know. I lacked the SE, I guess. Do ENFJs sometimes lack self-awareness? Do they ever not lack self-awareness? The problem is they don't know by a particular metric of SI. They don't understand themselves as animal beings with needs to sleep and eat and take care of themselves and regulate themselves according to a day-long schedule. This is my day and this is what it will comprise. And I can anticipate what's coming up because I've planned it in my head ahead of time. And that's indeed what happens is good. And if it deviates too much from that, it's not such a good thing. That's an SI reality that ENFJs just don't really know or get. Never probably will. But, we each have our own kind of handicap ontologically. And you could say that ENFPs lack self-awareness because they never really know their own feelings and how much they ought to prioritize them. They're always under-prioritizing them or over-prioritizing them and do a poor job of regulating. We don't really know what we want. And if that comprises authenticity of self, then we're not really very authentic in ourselves. Abstract. If it's taking a bunch of abstract meanings, does that make it any? If you're making a bunch of abstract meanings, all right, so it's like what I'm doing here right now is you ask that question and I understand what I understand already from SI, my understanding of any. And so then in answering this, I'm going to come up with some way to answer it that is as explanatory and revelatory to you as possible, or as effective as an instructive thing as possible. So I'm going to say, well, any is doing what I'm doing right now, which is making up explanations about things and such, linking back to what one already knows about something. So I already know about any, and now I'm going to make new meaning off of that. Not really new meaning, but in this instance, a new way of saying existing meaning. And NI is about which of those meanings are resonant or true or best. So to the extent that you remember something from this response and go, this really informs my thinking going forward, then that means you've NI resonated with it. You said like, okay, this thing is particularly true, worth remembering, and informative of other things in my life in ways that are helpful to me. Can an ENFJ ever not really be focusing on the emotions of others? That's to ask, could an ENFJ be aware of FE but not want to feel obligated to resolve or indulge in the feeling from other person? Well, it's not so much their feelings as it is their perceptions, mood, and motivations. So it is true that the ENFJ is going to pick up on their mood. They're also going to be reading their motivations all the time. And they're going to assume their motivations are driven by their feelings. So they're going to be reading. They're going to be reading on a sort of a gut level their mood. On an intellectual level, their emotional motivational matrix. And then that's how they're understanding how to interact with the world. Can they ever not do that? Not really. any more than I can not ideate. So in the face of trauma, they'll tend to retreat to their fourth function. That's when they're not doing FE. When they're not doing FE, they're doing TI. And so if they're experiencing some sort of trauma that checks them, they retreat into TI mode and presumably spend a lot of time thinking about whether things are logically consistent rather than whether they resonate as true with their NI tool function. NI tool function tends to be, when you abuse it, you start becoming like somebody who's a ideologue or an evangelist of some sort. If Jesus never existed is not relevant to the question of whether he was an INFP. Okay, we can determine whether Jesus was whatever type he was, regardless of whether he existed. Existence is a weird thing to argue anyway, because it's like, if you're arguing existence, then you're arguing, and this, you have to affirm and negate. If you're arguing he does exist or did exist, then you have to argue that in the status quo, we have to assume he doesn't exist. And if you're arguing he doesn't exist, you have to assume in the status quo he does exist. So either way, it's kind of a weird thing to argue. But if Jesus existed, he was probably an ENTP. The reason I think so is because he was stubborn in a certain way, and he had a lot of FE. He cared what people thought about him. You could tell. And, you know, he doesn't need that much SE. It's like it only comes out appropriately. He doesn't do any evil with it. That would be consistent with A slot. What about God? You mean the Almighty God? You mean Jesus Christo? The Holy Trinity? The Holy Spirit? God and Jesus? What about them? Do they exist? Is that what you're asking? Well, I mean, it's a good idea to pray to them. If I see a recurring grocery store customer where I work who unconsciously know is usually there with her husband, and upon seeing her alone, I suddenly remember who her husband is, then you'll know who you should feel bad for when you're fucking her. Would that be NESI or NISE? That would be SI, I guess. I don't know. What's the Holy Trinity Enneagram tri-type? Let's see. God's a 1. The Holy Spirit is a 7. And Jesus is a 2. So 712. That's the godly tri-type. Let's see what 712's tri-type is called. God's tri-type. Where's the Wikipedia tri-type list? Wikipedia. Let's see. Tri-types. Enneagram tri-types. try types. It doesn't exist. It used to exist. Huh. Because it doesn't have it anymore. Well, I don't know. 712 tray type name. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble finding this. The teacher? Is that what it's called? The teacher, yeah. Deleted wiki. That's funny. This was deleted from Wikipedia. 712. Why was it deleted from Wikipedia? 127. The teacher. Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense. That's God's tri-type. Okay, I got to go to bed. Good night, everybody. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. And if you do forget to eat plenty of cheese, then shame on you.